All right, so the way I want you to do this is to just copy in the notes that I'm giving you and then press pause and try the ones that I ask you to press pause on. I'll get to that in just a second. We're going to look at this problem first in the middle here, and we're trying to find the approximate solutions. When I'm dealing with one function, solutions are where it crosses the x-axis. But when I'm dealing with two, it's like we're finding the point of intersection. If you remember all the way back to the beginning of the year, we did problems like this where we graphed them and found the point of intersection. Then we did it by solving for systems, either using elimination or substitution. So right here, I've got a point of intersection right there. I've got a point of intersection right there. I got a point of intersection right there, and so on. You can do the last one in just a second. Right here, where are these points located? This point, if this is -1 and -1/2, is about halfway between there, you can see this has an x value just on the other side of -0.5. I'm just going to call it -0.6. If you put -0.5, that's close enough. These are estimates, approximations, so it doesn't have to be exact. But it shouldn't be -1, it shouldn't be 0, it should be something around -0.5. Similarly, the y value, well, if you look again, if this is like half of that, that looks like that's about over half. So the y value, I'm going to put at about 0.7. 0.75 is actually what I have in my notes. 0.8, anything between like 0.5 and 0.1 would be, or in 1, excuse me, would be sufficient. And, because there's a second one here, let's look at that point. That lines right up at 1, 2. That one's an easy one. Okay. This one's going to have a real pretty one. This one's going to have a less pretty one with decimals. Please press pause right now. Try those two problems, then unpause it to see the solutions. The solution here is left 2, up 7, right? Over from here is the origin. Over 2, up 7 gives me that point. These are a little less obvious on this one. I've got this point right here. I've got this point right here. And for the first one, well, that's -2, and it looks like it's about -1.5. So -2 in the x direction, down 1.5 because it's between 1 and 2. Okay. The other one is going to be positive, positive, so and. Looks like it's real close to 7, but it's just before 7, right? So I'm going to call that 6.8. And then the y value, well, that's between 0 and 1. Again, I'm going to go with like 0.8. If I would put 0.7, 0.75, somewhere around there, that it's even 0.5 I would take. It just shouldn't be 0 and it shouldn't be 1 because it's between those values, okay? That's the first part of this. The second part is to find exact solutions. And exact solutions are points of intersection, which means they have that point in common. This graph here, both on the quadratic and the exponential, shares that point at 1, 2. This point here, they're not the same, they're not the same, they're not the same. These are the same. So they share the point, x equals 3, y equals 4.5 is what they have in common, which is the point 3, 4.5. Solutions, again, are points of intersection. You know what? I forgot to write that up here. Let's write that. Points of intersection. So that's what they share in common. I would have you do this in class. I would ask, see if anybody could come up with this. But on this one, there are multiple places where they have a point in common. In row A, we can see that they have a 1 in common. It's not because of this, it's because of those two. Okay? So, row A, this isn't the answer, this is just kind of how we would go about it. Row A, f of x, which is how you say that, f of x, and g of x intersect at the point 1, 1. Okay. How about, let's see what else we have in common. You see any other things in common? Oh, here's a couple of 3s. It's not because of that 3, it's because they have that 3 in common. Okay. So, row C, well, f of x and m of x. That does not mean m times x, it means m of x. It's function notation. Intersect at 3, 3. So what this tells me, my solution is actually 1, 1 solution for f of x equals g of x, and 3, 3 is solution for f of x equals m of x. And that right there is the solution, okay? I got to check the time here. I'm not sure if I have enough time to do the other page. and I don't. So stay tuned, check out the second video for the back side of these notes, and then that will make sense for what you have to do for your homework here coming up shortly. So this is just the front page. Check the second video for the next page.